and the leaders of the heads of the thousands, who are placed over the whole creation and over all the stars, have also to do with the 4 intercalary days.
The intercalary days are those 4 days a year where the season changes. Exactly. It's 4 times a year, every 3 months or every 90 days.
Your 2 solstices and your 2 equinoxes.
Right, exactly. Go ahead.
Being inseparable from their office, according to the reckoning of the year. And these render service on the 4 days, which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year. And owing to them, men grow wrong therein. For those luminaries truly render service on the world stations, one in the first portal, one in the third portal of the heaven, one in the fourth portal, and one in the sixth portal. And the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 stations.
So it's the same thing that we just read in Jubilees. It's telling you that if you go astray on these 4 intercalary days and on the 364 day solar cycle, that you will be off. It's the same thing we just read. However, it's not just the solar cycle. But if you don't take into account the solar cycle and you only go by the moon, then it would throw you off because the moon lags behind the sun by 10 days per year. Let's go to chapter 78. And start at verse 4.
The book of Enoch, chapter 78 and verse 4. In the circumference of the sun, there are 7 portions of light, which are added to it more than to the moon.
Same thing we just read. The sun is 7 times brighter than the moon. Go ahead.
And in definite measures, it is transferred to the 7th portion of the sun is exhausted.
So, in definite measure, the sun it gives light to the moon. The moon doesn't have light in itself. The light that comes from the moon is reflected off the sun. That's why when you have a dark moon, those are the times where the earth is between the sun and the moon, so that no light can pass by the earth and the moon appears dark. No light can reflect off of the moon. Jump down to verse 9.
Verse 9. And in certain months, the month has 29 days, and once 28.
Okay, so this is talking about the moon. So in certain months, you got 29 days where the moon gives light, and 28 days where the moon gives light. How do I know that it's only talking about when the moon gives light? I'm going to show you. Let's keep reading.
And Uriel showed me another law, when light is transferred to the moon, and on which side it is transferred to her by the sun.
Same thing I just stated, that light, that the moon gets its light from the sun. It's reflected on the moon from the sun. Go ahead.
During all the period during which the moon is growing in her light, she has transferred it to herself when opposite to the sun during 14 days. Her light is accomplished in the Shamayim. And when she is illumined throughout, her light is accomplished in the Shamayim. And on the first day, she is called the new moon.
So on the first day of the month, she is called the new moon. Why?
For on that day, the light rises upon her.
So this is how we know that the new moon is not what they call the
dark moon. Basically.
Yeah, the dark moon. I forgot the name for it. It just slipped my mind. I forget the name for it, but it's not the dark moon. This is how we know it's the showing of the first light in the moon, or the first sliver, or the first crescent, or the first silver in the moon. It's because what we just read right here, plus the word Kodesh, which means a renewing, not dark, renewing. But read that verse again.
Verse 12. And on the first day, she is called the new moon, for on that day the light rises upon her.
Okay, let's jump to verse 14.
Verse 14. On the side where the light of the moon comes forth, there again she wanes till all the light vanishes, and all the days of the month are at an end, and her circumference is empty,
So, go ahead.
void of light.
So this is the dark moon right here. Circumference is empty, void of light. You see the distinction between the two? The one is the new moon when it first shows light. This is the dark moon after the whole light after it's waxed full and after it's waned empty. Keep reading.
And 3 months she makes of 30 days, and at her time she makes 3 months of 29 days each, in which she accomplishes her waning in the first period of time, and in the first portal for 177 days.
So stop right there. So it's telling you right there. That's how I know before when it said 29 days and 28 days that I was just talking about light. If you read the verses that follow it, you see it's speaking about light. Now this is talking about when it's dark, and it says that it's 29 days and 30 days. And I believe it goes, the first month is 30, the second is 29, the third is 30, the fourth is 29, to the point where in 6 months you have 177 days. And that's what it's stating here. Within the 6 month period, you have 177 days. And then the next 6 months happens the exact same way. Go ahead.
And in the time of her going out, she appears for 3 months, 30 days each. And for 3 months she appears of 29 each. At night she appears like a man for 20 days each time. And by day she appears like the Shamayim, and there is nothing else in her except her light.
Okay, that's good right there. So that's the understanding that you get out of Enoch. And you can read it all if you like, but you see how much information there is presented talking about the moon. I mean, there's some about the sun as well, but the sun, moon, and the stars all play a role, and that's why when it reads in Genesis, it states that that they both were for signs, in the skies or whatever. But now we're gonna do what we're gonna put on there. We're gonna put the cherry on top of this thing. Like we done put all the goodies. You just got all the goodies.
All the good ingredients
all the goodies is in place. It's sitting right in front of you. Now we about to drop the cherry on top of this boy and really drive this thing home to show you that it cannot be the sun only on the 30-day cycle that determines when the feasts are. And I use this same breakdown to dispel the whole lunar Sabbath, but it works for both. So let's go to Leviticus 23 and start at verse 4.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 4. These are the feasts of Yahuwah, even set apart convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons. And the 14th day of the first month at evening is Yahuwah's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahuwah. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. And the first day you shall have a set apart convocation.
The first day of unleavened bread is on the 15th day of the month. It's a set apart convocation. Read.
You shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah 7 days. And the 7th day is a set apart convocation.
Okay, that's good right there. So we're about to give you the breakdown, and that's just the ordinance of the feast of the Passover. Now, if anybody hasn't seen it, there's a video on Justin TV /Truth Seekers 313 where you can see where we did the breakdown showing that the Passover is actually killed between the evenings of the 14th day and the 15th day, and it's eaten on the first day of unleavened bread. That's the ordinance of the feast, and I believe it's stated in Jubilees the same way. I'll try to get that chapter and verse to you before we close out. But so that's the ordinance of the feast. The 14th day is the sacrifice. The 15th day is the feast day when the Passover, when the sacrificed lamb is actually eaten. That's the ordinance. So let's go to Matthew 26. Verse 17.
Matthew 26 and 17. Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Yahushua, saying to him, where will you that we prepare for you to eat the Passover?
You see that? Same thing I just said. On the first day of unleavened bread, that's when the Passover lamb was eaten. It wasn't eaten on the 14th day. It was eaten on the 15th day at even, because you're supposed to sacrifice it between the evenings of the 14th and the 15th day. Let's jump down to verse 19.
Verse 19. And the disciples did as Hamashiach had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now when the evening was come, he sat down with the 12. And they did eat He said, Truly, I say to you that one of you shall betray me. And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say to him, Master, is it I? And he answered and said, He that dips his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him. But woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born.
Let's stop right there. Jump back to verse 19.
Verse
I want to
19.
clarify something.
And the disciples did as Yahushua had appointed them.
Because he appointed them to go to this certain place, get the lamb, and that was the lamb that was going to be prepared for the feast day. Go ahead.
And they made ready the Passover.
They made ready the Passover, which means that they sacrificed it. It was the evening of the 14th. They sacrificed it. They didn't prepare it and cook it. They sacrificed it. So it was not to be eaten. So when it says in the next verse, now when even was come, and they sat down with the 12, and they did eat. I'm going to show you how this is not, that this was not the Passover itself, in a couple different areas. But jump down to verse 74.
Verse 74. Then began he to curse and to swear, saying, I know not the man. And immediately the cock crew.
Okay, so we're talking about Peter. When the Messiah told Peter he was going to deny him 3 times before the cock crows. So we know that the rooster or the cock crows when? In the morning, at dawn. So when they sat down to eat this so-called Last Supper, this wasn't the Passover. And I can show you when you go back and look and see where he says that he broke the bread. The bread that he broke. If you matter of fact, let's get that real quick. Just give me 1 second. I'll get that word for you because I want to make sure it's thorough. Matthew 26 and 26.
Matthew 26 and 26. And as they were eating, Hamashiach took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, Take, eat, this is my body.
Okay, so this is the so-called Last Supper. And he broke the bread, right? That word right there where he took the bread, that's G740.
G740. And it reads, Artos, from 142, bread as raised, or a loaf.
So it's letting you know that this bread that he broke was a raised bread. It wasn't unleavened. That's what the leavening does. It raises the bread. It's yeast. It makes the bread rise. I want to try to get that same word out of I believe in the Brown Drivers Briggs. It's the same. It's the same, but it lets you know it's raised bread. It's not unleavened bread, which shows you that it wasn't the feast of unleavened bread right then when they were sitting down to eat. It was the evening of the 14th day, and otherwise. Otherwise, did it stop? Okay. Otherwise, he would have been breaking the feast. So let's okay. So when it says and the cock crew, immediately the cock crew, that lets you know it was the next morning, or it was the morning of the 14th day. After they took him to the judgment house, and they, we know the story. They took him to the judgment house, and Peter denied him. Oh, I don't know him, and the cock crew. So it was that next morning. Let's go to 27 and 1.
Matthew 27 and 1. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Yahushua